Okay, let's try this. Hey everybody, I am so sorry for taking the stream, we're going live. Oh, sorry, we're not because I accidentally clicked an update for the webcam. So just had to kind of shut down and let that finish, but we're back. So thanks for being patient, really appreciate it. Welcome for Work Appropriate Goth, which is a fantastic name. I think that's awesome. Okay, so tonight I have with me, let me see if I can get, oh no, nope, I broke all the things. Hold on. We're going to try to get...
It shows me a little green light.
A little green light is not helpful. I would like a face. But I have had so many issues trying to get the webcam up for you today. So, yeah, Shy Red Fox. Oh, updates. The blessing and the curse. Yeah.
Lots of cursing.
So I did a lot of shifting things to make room for Seeker to sit on the other side of my desk tonight. And OBS pretty much said, I'm sorry, did you touch a cable? That cable no longer exists. And yeah, so wow, John, you're just not here tonight.
Yeah, I don't exist. That's fine.
You don't exist.
I'm a black box.
So, I got nothing. Okay, I'll work on that. But what we are actually going to do tonight is talk about, we've talked about spreadsheets before and how they are useful for writers, but a great percentage of writers are, they were frightened by spreadsheets as a child and they've never recovered. And it's really difficult sometimes to convince creative type people that a math tool can be good for them. So yeah, we hear John's voice, which is good because the last time I had John on to talk about spreadsheets, I actually screwed up his sound. So now we get his voice, but less John. So yeah, it's okay. I'm gonna mess with this, but we're actually gonna bring up a spreadsheet to talk about the demos with. Let's see what we got going on here. So I want to say first, I just want to show an example of where I use it just for really, really easy list tracking. Here we go. John, can you see everything just fine where you are?
I see just fine.
Awesome. We just can't see John. He is the spreadsheet guru from the sky.
This is hand gestures and it didn't matter.
What was that?
This was me making hand gestures and it didn't matter.
Yeah, thanks. It's really helpful. So yeah, sorry guys. Stealth mode expert, Bridger says.
Thank you.
So here's how this is going to work tonight. We're going to talk through spreadsheets and we're going to talk through mind maps. I really, really would like this to be interactive. So we're going to do, I'm just talking about this little demo here for a second, and then we're going to do a work along. And please, please, please throw your questions into the chat and we will make John deal with them because he doesn't have to worry about being on camera, so he can deal with all of the questions. Oh no, we're getting an echo on John. You know what? I'll bet you that is John on his own headset, but then also still being picked up by my mic.
That's probably because I'm loud.
Probably because he's loud. So we'll see if we can tone John down. We'll see if that works or not. So,
I will not be contained.
All right. Yeah, sorry. So we are interactive. That's where we're going with. So first off, and I talked with Mary, who I don't know if she made it to the show tonight, to the chat tonight. But we were talking this week about using spreadsheets as a submission log just because they are so much faster and easier to track things very quickly. So, and my submission log is probably overbuilt. Most people don't need, you know what? I actually had this all set up earlier before I had to do that quick reboot. Give me a second and make this easier for everyone to see. So as you can see here, this is I've just got, the name of the story where I'm sending it, what date it goes out, what day I got the response. I track personal rejections and forum rejections separately because if you've heard me talk about rejections before, personal rejections are a form of win. So go ahead and track those. And there's a lot of stuff here that probably not everybody needs to keep track of. But like one thing I do is I'll mark when exclusivity expires. So I know that's when I can resell that story as a reprint, or I can do something with it myself or whatever. So yeah, spreadsheet submissions managers make everything easier, because what you don't want, I'm going to tell you about a story about a friend of mine who sent a story to an editor, and the editor wrote back with a nice thank you but no. It's a nice story, it's not for me. And then like 2 months later, that friend of mine sent that story to an editor who wrote back and said, looks kind of like it did 2 months ago. Still a nice story, still not for me. That was like really embarrassing for my friend. So I don't ever want to be that person. Just saying. So yeah. Oh, good. Shy Red Fox has started a spreadsheet for book launch. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Launch ARCs or ARCs and reviews. Like just having anything that you need to keep track of and check off, like this has been done, I've got this many back from this many people, whatever. That's what spreadsheets are fantastic for. So let's hop over to a different spreadsheet. And I have built us a dummy sheet to play with here so we can get into all the nitty-gritties. So is this showing properly? Yes, it is. All right. So this is a copy with some dummy data of a spreadsheet that I use to track my advertising. This is all my Amazon ads, which I am trying to get better at. I'm taking a course. I'm making progress. Eventually I'll be good at them. But I want to know what I'm spending on ads. I want to know what I'm making on those ads, so I know whether to put more money into it or to bail out because this is a terrible, terrible campaign, or any number of things. And I see people do this with writing things down individually, and they'll have a calculator open, and they'll have a Word doc open, and they'll have Notepad open, and they're doing everything back and forth. And then they have to check their math. They're doing the same calculation for every title, every month, every ad, and then they have to check their math every time, or if you make a mistake, they can throw off everything, and then you spend a bunch of money that you weren't supposed to spend, or whatever. And so this is where I was like, hey, I know what I need. And I went to John and I said, hey, help me build this. So let's walk through what this is. John, you can feel free to jump in at this point, because
Sure.
Now this is where I'm going to start. We can start talking about what we did. So some of these are numbers that I'm just going to enter in, like on this particular month. Can you guys see my cursor if I'm doing stuff on the spreadsheet?
Your cursor, no.
No,
But if you click a field, it will have a little box around it, so then they can see where you are.
Do you have a little box? Here, I'm in C38.
Doesn't really show up. So tell you what, let's do this. Just make it bold when you click on something. And that way, just Control B. There you go.
Sorry, I was floating on a wrong menu. Okay. Okay. Oh, Bridger says yes, and Work Appropriate Goth says that it's floating in and out. Okay. And part of it is that I'm jumping back and forth between Excel and OBS, so poor little computers try to figure out where to do things.
It doesn't know what you're doing. It doesn't know why.
So for this here, title F, that 7442, that would be the amount that I'm actually pulling out of my Amazon ads dashboard when it tells me what I spent this month. And as you can see in the left-hand column, I'm doing this on the first day of every month so I can have a consistent way to track things. The next to that is the royalties. That's actually what I sold in that month. In this case, this is a February 1st date, so that would be a January sales. Then we start getting into the things that I don't want to have to do math for. And so
I see it.
You can see it? Okay.
Yep.
Up at the very, very top, if you look at, I'm going to enlarge this just a little bit for people. If you look up at the top where my unicorn's hoof is trampling, you can see, it's not enlarging. It's not enlarging at the formula bar. But you can see where it we had a number, the 7442, And then when I click over on average cost per click, up at the very top, it has that equal sign, if error, et cetera, et cetera. This is the point where I want to stop doing math. I'm going to make everything else do the heavy lifting for me. So John, do you want to explain what we did there?
Sure. So the base percentage concept is pretty straightforward, right? C and K, C being her ad spend, and K, which is not on the screen right now, being her total ad clicks per month. She wants to know, okay, if I spent this much, what am I spending per click? So that's pretty straightforward. The problem that we run into is that if you divide by 0, then things get weird. So if she has no clicks and she tries to divide her ad spend by 0, bad things happen. But fortunately, spreadsheets, they have this thing called if error. If error is a function that says, well, if there was a problem, let's not throw all kinds of weird stuff all over your screen. Let's just, I'll tell you what I want you to do. And in this case, Laura has changed my screen on me, but that's okay.
Uh-oh, did it not work?
It's fine. In this case, what we've said is just use the default for this kind of field, which is typically going to either be blank or 0. So in this particular case, we said, hey, look, this is a number field, just use the default. And so what it would end up doing is it would give us a 0. It would give us 0. Now, Laura doesn't have one of those, but if we were to go ahead and, on that row that you're on, go ahead and remove your 249 for just a second. Over in K. Yep, just delete it. You can see what's happened is it's just blanked it out. It said, we don't have good data, I got nothing. Put a 0 in there. Still nothing. But if she puts her 249 back, the formula no longer goes into that if error condition, and so we actually get a structure that actually works. So that's cool. That did what we wanted it to do. Now, that was sort of the first thing that we did there, was just, hey, look, we'll use this if error thing. The other thing that you can do with this, and I'm going to use this as an example, is let's say that formula, just something weird was going on, we weren't sure what was happening, and it's coming up with a number that doesn't make any sense. And I'll try to be quieter to reduce the echo.
Go ahead, I just muted my mic over here.
Okay. If you go to the formulas tab where the formulas live, right, where there's all those formulas that make no sense, but you go to the formulas tab, and Laura's driving, or no, I guess I'm driving, cool. In here, there's something called evaluate formula. It's in the formula auditing area, and you can evaluate the formula. And what it will do is it will actually allow you to walk through piece by piece and see the values turn into their numbers. So you can now see if error 740, 74, 72. And you can see when I hit evaluate, that K38 will become the 249, which will ultimately turn into the math, which is, hey, look, everything worked, and so there was our answer. And for this one, that's not that big a deal because it's, it's two fields, it's one divided by the other. But as we get into bigger and more complex things, that, or heaven help us, if we have formulas stacked on formula stacked on formula, that can become very helpful because it allows you to walk through and see what's going on. The other fun thing, although this may be difficult to visually see, is if I actually click up here in the bar, you can see color boxes around the pieces that are involved in my formula. So I can now see a color bar, this little blue box, I can see this little red box, and I can see that they're on my row. If for some reason I really didn't want to be using everything on my same row, I could actually come over here and I could say, this is wrong. I want to click and drag my color box. And as you can see, it actually changes the formula so that now it will use those as my boxes for doing that calculation. So now it would calculate using this C33 divided by K38 instead of C38 divided by K38. Now, obviously, I don't want to leave it that way because that's broken, but that's another way where if I've clicked on the formula bar, I can actually see the boxes that are involved. Now again, if it gets real complex, that doesn't work as well, especially if you reference the same box several times. But it's a nice visual way, and if you do have a formula that's just it's a little off, you can do this, look at the fields, and then fix them if you need to. So those are a couple sort of quick things on just using this average cost click to say, hey, look, here's some things I can look at and manipulate that are actually not that bad. And
All right, I'm gonna
work appropriate goth. Formulas on formulas is not my worst nightmare. I have far worse ones, but that's another conversation for another day.
I like shutters and data analysis. All right, so I'm going to jump in and interrupt for just a second because you just frightened me, and this is my own spreadsheet. So when we are looking at there, I guess let me back up because there are two kinds of people who might be watching this. People who are going, oh yeah, formulas on formulas, formulas on formulas on formulas, and then there are people who are like, oh, there are numbers in boxes, and so it's not a terribly specific categorization there, but I think you probably know where I'm going. What specifically I wanted this spreadsheet to do was, as you can see there, this is quite a lot of math going on, and it's quite a lot of math that is going on every month. Okay, and again, this is my dummy sheet, but my real one's pretty comparable to this, and it's a lot of the same numbers that I've just repeated in here, so I want something where I can see at a glance how my projects are doing and make decisions without having to do math every time. I want to take the error of math way, way down. It's still possible. I could still enter something completely wrong, but it's going to be an entry error, not a I did my math wrong error. And I want it to automatically propagate for me and do all those decisions for me. So these formulas look terrifying, but they're really, really not. So let's take something that is, let's go way down to introductory level here for a moment, John. Can you talk us through this formula? I'm in G38.
Yep, I see.
Yeah, okay.
So at its core, what Laura wanted to know was she wanted to say, okay, theoretically, I got royalties, but how much did I have to spend in ads to get them? And so what she did, or what we did here, was we said, okay, we know that the columns we want are C and D. There's my royalties. Here's my ad spend. And so what we did is we said, okay, well, then let's just do our basic algebra game where I say equal sign. And then I came over here and I said, okay, and we're going to just click the field that we want to be our royalties, minus, and then I'm going to click the field that is my ad spend, and I got my math. It just took that and it recorded it for me. And I could then, once I had it once, and I'm just going to have some fun here for a second. Once I had it once, I could copy it, just as you always do, come in here and I could copy, and once I had copied it, I could paste it, and I'm using the pretty pictures on the top. And the formula, as you can see, if you look in the formula bar, you'll see it was 38 and it's 39. And so as I pasted it, the spreadsheet says, I am smart enough to think, and sometimes it's wrong, I am smart enough to think that whatever you did last time, since this is a copy-paste and not a move, that whatever you did, it's a formula, I will repeat it, but I will adjust it to my new record. And so I could do that, and I could copy, and I'm just using the keyboard and paste over and over, or I could have said, hey, look, I really like this formula, and I want to take this little, and now that's a little plus, I want to just drag that formula down, and it would do the same kind of thing. Or for those people who are keyboard monsters and like keyboards or can't remember that little X because that's hard, I could say, hey, look, I'm just going to select the fields I want, and up here in the home page, there is a fill bar way over on the right in edit, or way over on the right in editing. And I could say I want to fill down, and that would put that same formula. And so once Laura got the formula right the first time, she didn't have to keep doing the formula over and over and over and over. She could take the formula, she got it right once, she could just fill it down and make it go.
Okay. Sorry, I got to remember to unmute myself now, so I'm trying to reduce echo on you. I don't know if you guys were able to see, as John was doing that, in column M, things were magically disappearing and appearing as he completed that column G formula. So this is the great thing. Again, like once you build your initial formula, you can just connect everything to it, and that's that much more math that I don't have to do. Anything that results in me doing less math is probably great. Okay. And so default settings for Excel, and I believe for Google Sheets as well, is to do this thing where they're showing negatives in red and positives in black, but you can set that up to however you want. So we're going to start a project now. Group project. Please open Excel if you have it, or go to Google Sheets, which I think is just sheets.google.com, if you do not have it, if you do not have Excel. And what we're going to do is going to work fine in either of those. And we're going to build one of these for you guys. And it doesn't have to be for ads. It can be for absolutely anything that we're going to track as far as marketing or selling. And we're going to do a little bit of playing with it live so that if you run into questions, we can address them right now. So, you know what? We could also do a snapshots sheet. I think we talked about that way back last fall, but I don't know that we've ever worked on one. I just said it was a good idea to have one. So we can definitely do some of these. So I'm going to hop over where I can see the chat. This is an awkward kind of thing where it is harder for me to see two things at once. So I apologize for that. And it says I'm having some trouble with my bitrate. How's it going, guys? Let me see if I can try to fix some things there. Sorry if the stream was getting laggy. I don't want that to be going on. And it'd be really nice if I could have a John visible, but that's not going to happen. So, sorry. All right. Does everyone have a spreadsheet? Are you sitting comfortably? Okay. And let's go ahead and let's make a new thing, and we're just going to do title. Oh, you know what? We're going to do month, title, sales, royalties, marketing, free. Nope, no, we're not going to do that. Just sorry, I'm trying to. I should have planned my assignments better. Oh, let's do this. We'll call that good, and then we'll do marketing costs. Okay. I'm gonna chop back and check chat. Everybody, don't see any questions, so we're gonna plunge ahead. Okay, so John, what we want here is a very, very basic tracking sheet. So
Sure.
a simplified version of the one we've done before. Mm-hmm. Where we can enter in each of these columns and then end up with an actual picture of how we're doing.
Sure. So enter the data you received. Let's just start there. We got something in January. It was titled ABC. Now I'm not sure if your sales line is one or multiple. Yep, that's a great title. I love the second book too. It's a standard problem with some series. All right. Yep, go ahead and plug in your numbers. That's fine. Since this is a demo, we're just plugging in any numbers. All numbers are good numbers. It's the hard part, typing and figuring out the numbers you want to type. Okay. And so now let's put in your marketing costs. Sounds great. Now, my only question I have for you is your sales. Are those generic sales? Is that what does sales mean to you in this case? What does Amazon mean to you in this case?
Column C is the number of copies that I'm selling for this book.
Okay.
And then D, E, and F are royalties. And these numbers are super fake.
That's fine.
So,
So what you're trying to, so then what we want to do is let's add 2 columns at the end of this just for fun. Yep, we'll just start with January for now. So the first thing we can do is we can find out what our marketing sales cost is per book. And then since we have royalties across 3 different things, we can figure out our marketing costs for those books. You know, we can sort of say, yeah, but this is how much I made or lost. And those are royalties. So the first thing let's do, let's say, okay, what was my marketing cost per book? That'll work. Cost per sale. So the easiest way to do this is, again, back to the high school algebra. So we're going to do an equal sign, and then we're going to click on our marketing cost field for this row. So just click on the field, divided by the set number of sales. We're going to hit the enter key. So it cost me $20 per, I'm assuming these are all in dollars, and we can change that here in a second. Cost me $20 per sale for my fantastic book. Now click on my fantastic book.
let's stop for just a second.
Sure.
This is the kind of information I would definitely want to know. I cannot maintain a career if I'm paying $20 to sell one book. And again, these numbers are super fake. But if you've talked to people, or if you've perhaps been a person who has put a lot of money into...
We're frozen.
What?
We appear to be frozen.
We appear to be frozen.
We appear to be frozen.
Oh, no.
Oh, hang on. Just pause for a moment. Yeah, we are showing the... We are not showing your new sheet. We are showing the old sheet.
Huh. Okay, hold on.
Excel has outsmarted us and is not showing us the new coolness. There's the new coolness.
Hey, I can force it to join us. I am so sorry, guys.
So here's our new little sheet. Let's go ahead and redo that. Go to the H for sale piece for me real quick. Delete it. Goodbye. So what we did was we were in here and we said, hey, look, equal sign. We clicked on marketing costs. We divided by, and then we clicked on sales. And then we hit the enter key. And as a helpful hint, if you write it like that where it's cost per sale, the per is basically your divide symbol. So if you're going, I don't remember which one should be on top and which one should be on bottom, and oh my goodness, my brain hurts. Cost per sale, cost divided by sale. Now, we've got it in one field. We've got 4 rows, so let's go ahead and we can copy paste, or we can drag down using that little edge, either or, it's your choice. And we have replicated. And so what we see is that for the first book we spent $20. And then for the other two, well, we didn't spend anything, so cool. And then the last one, hey, look, we only spent 85 cents a copy. That's not terrible. Now, it's not a pretty number, so let's go ahead and go to Home. And right in the middle where it says numbers, let's just click on the $sign. And that will format it in a more normal format for us. Cool. And then the other thing you wanted to do was to say, well, what's my total sales? Right. So there's a couple ways we can do this. We'll do total sales. We'll just start with the old-fashioned way. Oh, we're going straight to profit, huh? Okay, cool.
Oh, well, what did you mean by?
I was just going to do total sales, so you added D plus E plus F.
Oh, but I'm sorry. D, E, and F are my royalties. Those are not number of copies.
Yes, but those are 3 different royalty groups for 3 different places.
Oh, okay. Total royalties, not total. Okay, I got you.
Yes, sorry. Total royalties. Now, you could do the same thing where you did equal A plus B plus C, or you can do an equal sum, open parentheses, SUM, open paren. Got a bonus paren there, that's fine. And then click and drag across all three, across D, E, and F. And now you can close. You selected them individually. You could have just dragged. It would be a much happier place for you. What you did will work, but that worked great for 3. But if this was 20, it would be annoying. And if drag, you get that. And now you can close paren it. And now you have your total royalties for all 3. And now you wanted to say, you wanted to know what? Your profit. So you know your marketing costs, and you know your total royalties. So total royalties minus profit, or total royalties minus your marketing costs. Uh-oh, hit the enter key. Oh no, it's negative.
Now let's say I want to. I need to be. I need to be alerted when this happens so that I know to immediately stop this BookBuddy ad or whatever it is I've got going that is this much money going down the hall. So how can we make this a glaring neon cell that says, help, it's negative, stop.
Yep, so click on the cell, and this is where, this is called conditional formatting. There are other ways to do this, but we're going to use conditional formatting in this case. It is on the Home tab in Excel, it's right there in the middle. Conditional formatting also exists in Google Sheets. It's a little more clunky, but not terrible. So on the down arrow, or click conditional formatting, and let's go down, and you can see there's a variety of options here. Highlight cells.
I'm not sure menus actually show up on the pass through. Let me double check here. Yeah, I'm not seeing it go through on things, so we're going to have to be very specific.
So we'll just do conditional formatting, and because of what we're doing, let's do the easiest thing, which is highlight cell rule at the very top. And we want something if it is less than 0. So just change that to a 0, hit the enter key. So if that number is less than 0, it's going to turn red. You'll have to scroll a little to the right because they can't see it, or minimize or shrink your size. Or the other thing we could do is we could just shrink the column width. But that'll work. And so what we will have now is, now again, we did it for the one form, that one field, as opposed to the whole column, so we could do it to the column. But if we did it to the column, we would find ourselves with an entire pretty picture of, yep, that'll work. And now you can see, and so we still need to get our royalties in for all the columns. And there you go.
And then what I could do is if I had a different month in February, if I had, better numbers or whatever, you could use that conditional formatting to see instantly what things had been improved and by how much. And let me see if I can get this back on OBS, because it doesn't like it when I change Excel sheets. That's what happened before. Yeah, so here we go. If you look at these numbers here on the right where it says ROI, and I just have it set to anytime that's over 1,000% to give me that lovely green box, that just makes me feel better about my life to see those green boxes showing up. And then of course I've got some negatives here too, but as long as I've got more green boxes than I do negatives, I can deal with that for a month or two. But that gives me information where I don't have to stop and actually do the math every time to see a trend or to see which way is going. I can just at a glance by looking at the colors know if I'm on the right track. And then I can get into the nitty gritty and get actual, to the 5th decimal point or anything that I want. But that at a glance knowing is really helpful if I'm trying to decide, okay, do I need to drop everything and focus on this today to try to fix stuff, or am I good and leave it for a week? So. All right. So sorry, guys. I know that ended up being a little bit clunky with display. So please feel free to say in the chat, we got none of that. Please fix it. Or that made sense. Or that made sense, but I have this other question, or wherever that needs to be.
So while we're waiting for the chat lag, because I think there is some, the key thing is, again, as from a concept of, well, but what if things go wrong? What if things go horribly wrong? The great thing is it's a spreadsheet. If it goes horribly wrong, you can just change it, try again. It's okay. It's not going to jump out. It's not going to attack. And if it doesn't quite work the way you want, or it doesn't show you what you're expecting, there are a lot of tutorials out there, or reach out to Laura and say, hey, look, we talked about this once and I have a question. We can also potentially even answer questions in the chat while a different conversation is going on, so that you don't feel like you're causing a large concern, or if you have a large concern, it's okay.
And I'm just checking the chat real quick, and I'm seeing that Shy Red Fox is having ramen, and so now I'm angry because I don't have ramen. So that's good. Fun fact, though, in 2 weeks we're going to be talking about ramen here on the screen. It's here on the screen, on the stream. So more on that later. Okay. So let's shift gears then and do our other piece of homework for tonight. This is where, here we go. Okay, yeah, that lovely green box is great because it is definitely a happy thing. It's when I'm like, hey, oh, good, it's working. So, okay. The next thing we're going to talk about is mind maps, which is the other way of taking all the things out of your RAM and being able to be free to process things with your brain without trying to do math or keep track of all the items and all the things. So your homework for this one, sorry guys, this is what you actually have to go grab a piece of software because you probably don't have this one handy. But I've got a link that I will put in the chat as soon as I remember where I left it. Oh, everything got moved when I had to reboot the computer, so 1 second. Okay, so this is Xmind. This is a free download. They do have a Mac version, but I'm not sure that the free version is the Mac version, so sorry, Mac users. But if there are plenty of other mind map softwares, software options out there, this is the one that I am familiar with and like a lot that is free. So this is the one I'm going to show you, but the concept is going to remain regardless of what software you're going to use. So let's see if I can get this to come up. There we go. Okay. So what a mind map does, actually, let me come back here and show it this way first. You probably did these in school, where you'd start with a, see if I can make this work. You'd start with a topic in the center, and then you draw a line out to another topic, and you draw all your connecting topics and then all the topics that come off of those, and it was a way to start organizing things or to build an outline or whatever. So that is, there we go. You've probably seen these. Here's why these are fun to start, but I quickly get frustrated doing these on paper, because mine very quickly turn into this kind of a mess that's going on up here. Sorry, I'm trying to do this backwards in the webcam, where I have done these two topics and I decide they're actually the same topic and they need to come off this one in the middle, and then they're connected, and then I'm drawing lines from here to here, here to here, and now, instead of feeling like I've organized everything I needed to get out of my head, I'm left with this mess that is actually quite hard to read, and I don't feel like I actually made any progress on getting organized. Now, there are some huge advantages to doing this kind of thing with pen and paper. For a lot of people, doing it with tactile and analog ways is more productive. These things flow out more easily, and so that can be a good way to get started. I find most of the time, for me, it works just as well to do it on digital, and I actually get less frustrated with this messy rearrangement bit if I'm doing it digitally, because it's all being done neatly for me. So let me get back over here. This is a mind map that I did for one of my nonfiction books, and I just started with a concept in the center of socialization, and I just started putting everything that I could think of that related to puppy socialization around it, and just started building off of it. So I ended up with this very, very clean, neat thing that turned into my outline because it was organized for me as I went. And I'm going to hop over here. This is one that I'm working on right now, designing an online puppy class. So I've got, socialization will be a topic, medical cooperation behaviors will be a topic, teaching household manners, and then I want to teach basic cues. And then what if I decide that actually I'm going to do training all as its own topic, and then I'll have household manners and basic cues will both be a part of the training. So I'm just going to drag this over here. I'm going to drag this over here. Okay, this worked just a moment ago. Okay, that's not even funny. I did this like right before we got started. Huh. Why are you like this? Okay, well, this used to work. Never mind, guys, everything's a lie. I don't even know how I did this. Okay, well, anyway, I can decide household manners. I don't know what setting I accidentally did with this that I turned that feature off, but you can drag them and stack them. But I'm just going to be here, and I'm in household manners, and I can just hit enter to add a new topic from off that main topic, or if I'm here and I hit tab, it starts bringing me off into subtopics. So then I could say maybe wait at the door. I could say lie down in the kitchen so that we're not jumping up on counters. I could say off furniture on cue. I mean, just whatever I wanted to come up with, but I can just throw out these ideas as fast as I can think of them without having to worry about getting them neat and organized. And it will make it neat and organized for me. And I have no idea what I did to turn off that drag and drop feature, but I liked it, and now I'll have to get that back. So if I come back to, and I'm sorry, I'm just going to double check that is, yeah, that's displaying properly. Okay, so if I come back here, all of these were things that I just sat down in one session and just started throwing things down as quickly as possible. This was my Business of Writing book, which has turned into this stream, but this was where I started talking about, okay, what can I do that will be useful to share business side of things with creative people. And this one I have automatically color coding things for me. And there's a lot of things branching out here. Again, you can just, I don't have to worry. This would be crazy to try to do in an outline form on my paper, but I can just throw it all down here and let it sort itself out. So both of these are nonfiction, but I've done this for fiction as well. I don't usually do this for novels, but here I was writing a mystery, so I did do it for the mystery, where I just started putting down all the aspects that I wanted to include in the setting, which was a fandom convention. I did a murder mystery at a fandom con, similar to a Comic Con or something. And I just started drawing connections between things. I can add some labels to the connections, between Homestuck, Unsealed Makeup, and Costume Damage. Kind of dating myself here, but all of those things, so that it just got so many different pieces out, and then was able to organize those very, very quickly. I'm going to go back and check the chat. So, oh, ramen won't fit through the screen. So sad. So, and thanks for, Apocalypse. Mr. Apocalypse. Sorry. I was trying to work backwards through the chat there. Mr. Apocalypse. Hey, thank you. I appreciate that. So, or I'm gonna get back to so I can do all of these. So then again, now this is something I'm writing a course, and this is supposed to be a 21-day online course. So I'm just starting with, we're teaching dogs how to voluntarily accept eye drops. And so there's a very specific head position I want. There's a very specific process that I want to train here. If you want to see this, I was demonstrating this with Undomio earlier this month. So that's probably in some videos on here, or I can link to that so you can see this. But I want to get all these pieces down that I'm just going to throw in here. And then as I'm watching that branch out, those branches are going to become my 21 days, because as I put those topics together, things that go together are going to thread along those lines, and I'm going to end up with 12 to 20 individual pieces, and then I can massage that into my exact 21 days worth of content. So, is this making sense? This is another thing. This is something that people have seen, but I don't think people always realize that it can be used in more than one way. So that's why I wanted to mention those tonight. So, and I know that we've got some pretty significant lag going on right now, so I'm sorry. So I'm going to give you a minute to be able to get back to me. I apologize for that lag. Get back to all right. Okay, so work appropriate goth is also a person who finds that brainstorming easier to do digitally, just because you can organize it without having to rewrite entirely. Yeah, and I have friends who are amazing at doing this on paper with 6 different colors, and it comes out looking pretty decent the first time. Mine don't come out looking decent, and then I get frustrated because I'm trying to decode what I have done. So this is a better option for me. Shai says that it's making sense. Good, thank you. So so where I was going tonight was my ultimate goal. Oh, I just did something with a turned off an alert somehow. I'm sorry, guys, whoever that was. But my goal for tonight was to just say, hey, these are tools that you might have heard of. I know spreadsheets are kind of a scary, horrible thing in the writing community, and I just wanted to again touch on those. After the stream tonight, we're doing my taxes. And as I mentioned last week, I'm actually feeling pretty good. I've got all my paperwork in order this year. Everything's pretty organized. But if you if that doesn't feel collected for you, you're probably in the majority of us, and go hit that the episode I did last, I think in December, with Chris Morris, the CPA, who specializes in accounting for writers, and just look at those basics that you need, get that into a spreadsheet. Honestly, guys, I do almost all of my accounting pieces I do in under 5 minutes at a time, usually under 2 minutes at a time, because I know myself. And if it is sit down and do an hour of accounting, that doesn't happen unless there's a lot of panic and duress and agitation, and I don't need that in my life. So I need to set myself up for success by making it really, really easy and something I can do tiny pieces at a time. Bridger's pointing out, I love the aesthetic of paper organizing, but my brain just cannot. Bullet journals. Oh my gosh, there are amazing bullet journals out there. That's not how I work, but I am so impressed by people with beautiful bullet journals. More power to you guys. Yeah. And then I'm a little bit jealous because they have cool stickers on their planning, which I can't do on my digital format. But on the other hand, I don't lose my digital format, and I do keep up with my digital format, which I don't do with that kind of paper thing. So yeah. Okay. All right. So thanks for the comments, guys. I apologize. It was a little bit chaotic this week. It's not as smooth as I would normally like, but I also wasn't planning on losing my cameras and accidentally rebooting and all of the other things right before we came in. So I'm sorry that didn't end up being as clear. Next week is our Create In, so bring a project for that. And then the week after that is 5th Tuesday in a month. So that is our field trip. And as I mentioned earlier, I'm going to be talking about the history of ramen, which probably sounds super dull, but we're treating this as a world building exercise, and how absolutely nothing is isolated. Everything is connected to everything else. So we're going to look at ramen as how it relates to history, politics, natural disasters, all of the things. So come and come along for that. Okay. So thank you guys. That was it. That's everything I've got for tonight. And then I will see you next week.